Good evening, my classmates and Dr. Berg. I hope you all are doing well today. I'm very excited to go ahead and do this presentation for all of you on Brene Brown, modern theorist. So kind of to get started, a little background on Brene's biography. So she was born in San Antonio, Texas in 1965. She was the oldest of 4 siblings, and she spent her childhood in New Orleans and eventually found her way back to Texas, where she met her husband Steve, and they were married in 1994. She eventually went on to work through completing her bachelor's of social work at the University of Texas in Austin, and then she received her master's of social work from the University of Houston in 1996. Her and her husband have 2 children, and they were born later following her receiving, I believe, her PhD, if I remember correctly. And she did receive that PhD in 2002 from the University of Houston, where she has continued to serve there. Currently, her role is the University of Houston College of Social Work as a professor, but she also is a guest professor at the University of Texas at Austin McCombs School of Business. Just to kind of continue on, so her background with educational theory, so she is actually most known for her famous TED Talk in 2010 about vulnerability, which I have actually included the link for you guys at the end of the presentation for reference. So if anybody is interested in viewing that, if you've never seen it, I have been a huge fan of her work ever since. I actually watched it a couple of years ago during COVID, but she talks about in this specific TED Talk about vulnerability, which I will continue on in the next slide. But it's it's very inspiring. It talks about being authentic. So if I had to choose which school of thought that I really feel like she fits into, just to kind of follow the pattern of how the class has gone, she would definitely qualify to be an existentialist. I chose that just because she is big on relationships and interaction, and she wants you to kind of pave your own path, that there doesn't have to necessarily be like a set way in the road that you should feel like you have to travel or you have to follow in order to be successful. And that's the beauty, like what she talks about in her theory of vulnerability. So she actually, Ms. Brene Brown, defines vulnerability as the definition of uncertainty and risk and emotional exposure. She feels that vulnerability is not weakness, but it is our most accurate measure of courage. One thing that I love that she preaches is that she believes that you should take ownership of your own mistakes, that you should always show up and be your most authentic self to everyone. Be willing to own your mistakes. You're being self-aware, you're facing your fears, seeking excellence, not perfection. So the quote that I chose for the slide is, "Staying vulnerable is a risk we have to take if we want to experience connection." So her big belief is that when we are vulnerable with others, that's how we make a connection. And I find that to be like super important. So how is this theory applying in the classroom, you might ask? So I'm going to just kind of give you guys a direct quote. I should have probably added it to the slide, so I apologize. So on her website, and this is actually from her book, Dare to Lead, she states, "Teachers are the guardians of spaces that allow students to breathe and be curious and explore the world and who they are without suffocation. Students deserve one place where they can rumble with vulnerability and their hearts can exhale." And I just feel like her whole theory, students should feel safe. Students should have a place for themselves. You shouldn't underestimate the benefit of a child having a place to belong. And I love that she says teachers are the guardians of the safe place to help students feel secure. In this day and age with technology, you know, and the past few years, just the uprising of everything that's happened politically and, you know, COVID, I feel like it's even more important for kids to have a safe place in school. I never want a child who comes in and works with me to ever feel like that I'm not safe to them. So I love that she just explores this theory that we should be able to continue to give that safe space to them. So my final slide is the YouTube video. Feel free to reach out to me if you're not able to click into the link. It's a really great TED Talk. It's about 20 minutes, easy to run through, and I feel like everyone needs to hear what she has to say. So if you haven't had the opportunity, I really recommend that you do. I just kind of want to wrap up my presentation by saying that I do feel like I can apply this theory in the classroom no matter what age I end up, whether I stay with my 6th grade group or I end up in the high school level. I just feel like it's so important to share your heart, and I'm very open and honest about my own life and the struggles that I've had to overcome just being a single parent, learning to do things on my own. I feel like it gives me a unique perspective sometimes based on the challenges, you know, and to be able to relate. I think being able to relate with people is just what makes you more human, basically, I guess is where I'm going with this. I do feel like once you show that you're human, it also helps that you have compassion and you have drive to make the world a better place. You know, much like everyone in this group, we've felt this calling to become teachers, and some of us, you know, later in life, not just fresh out of college. It shows that we all, as a group, have courage to be willing to start over and to pursue a dream. And I look forward to the future for each and every one of us in this group. So I hope you've all enjoyed a little about Brene Brown. I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. And here's my sources. Thank you all for your time.